Hey, what's up, roadies? This is Nightbot.
This is Phil Dutteridge.
What's happening, roadies? This is Bruce Danz, and you are listening to Roadie Free Radio.
What's up, roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business. All right, what's happening, roadies? Welcome to episode number 105. Uno, cento, zero, cinque. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know if that was Italian, Spanish. I don't know what I was trying to channel there, but I got something. Listen, 105 episodes in, deep, coming at you from the barn in Northwest Connecticut. This is Larry Milburn, your host. Thank you for tuning in. If you are a repeat customer, God, it's nice to have you here. If you're just checking out the show for the first time, God, it's nice to have you here. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Learn more. Tune in more. Go back. We got 105 of these bad boys. You can learn a lot of stuff in 105 episodes. And then can you imagine in that whole time, I only did one 2-part episode, Miss Cindy Cash Dollar. Anyway, listen, it's good to be back from break. I'm psyched to be back here doing the show. We got a hell of a show for you today. Episode 105, we got Mr. Bruce Danz, monitor engineer Bruce Danz. Been at it a long time, people. He's going to teach us a thing or two. Been with Marilyn Manson. Got a little fun at the end of this interview. You got to stick around, man. We start talking about Marilyn and his crazy fucking antics, and Bruce dealing with that. And then finally one day saying, you know what? That's it. I've had enough, Marilyn. I'm done with your mic changes and your weird mic handles with hatchets and knives and cleavers and shit. I'm out. That's it. I'm leaving. But he did it on a good note. He did it as a true professional would, should, and could do it. I'm psyched for this interview. All right, before we get to that, Otis Rush, Chicago guitar player, a contemporary of Michael Bloomfield's, is gone, dead at 84. Otis, thank you for your service to the blues, my man. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. You will not be forgotten. All right, listen, guys. I got a plunge. Actually, hold on. Back it up before I tell you about the plunge I'm going to take. I put numbers next to things so I know what order I want to tell you them in, but I'm jumping around. Here we go. All right, two first things. First, a couple of things. Jan Mark Wolkin, author, Bloomfield historian, author of the book Michael Bloomfield, An Oral History, came out 2-3 years ago. Jan won this week's Q&A giveaway. I wanted you to send in a little blurb about your first concert or film, a music experience, or your first film experience, the thing that changed you, man, the thing that you were like, oh my God, there's a whole other world out there, and I want to experience it. Based on your music or film experience. Jan hit me up. So he got a Bloomfield book, one of those legendary Licks books. But wait, the thing about that, why I'm bringing it up, how cool is it that a dude who's writing about my uncle actually listens to the show and then participated? I just find that amazing. So Jan, if you're listening, dude, thank you. Thank you, my friend. Your book's in the mail, as are your stickers, and your invite to be on the show stands. All right? I want you here. I want you to come on. Let's chat about Bloomfield and your research. All right, so that's that. I got a link to that in the show notes, the special mentions on the website at roadiefreeradio.com. If you go there, you can click on that link. It'll take you to Amazon. You can buy Michael Bloomfield, An Oral History. I get a few pennies for that, no extra cost to you. So go ahead and do that if you wouldn't mind. The next thing I want to tell you about, I think I brought this guy up before. Mark Agnesi works over at Norman's Rare Guitars out in Los Angeles. If you don't follow Norman's Rare Guitars on YouTube, do yourself a favor. Head over there. Mark is his guy, works for him. He does a daily trip back into Norman's vault of guitars. And his knowledge is amazing about the instruments that he shows you. He's got Tele Tuesday, he's got Straturday, Flat Top Friday, all kinds of amazing stuff. Mark is also a phenomenal player. I don't know how he has not run out of tunes to play. They've done like I think they've done like 600 episodes or something ridiculous, but they're great, man. Super short, sweet. He gives you a little spiel about the instrument, and then he goes in the back room or back out on the couch and plugs in and just rips. The guy is awesome. Guitars, basses, acoustic instruments, unbelievable. Mark Agnesi, check him out, and you can follow him on Instagram as well. Mark Agnesi. That's AGNESSI. Are you going to AES, folks? AES is around the corner. I got my press pass. I also got my press pass to go to the NAB show, which is part of it for the video folks that are listening out there. I will be at both of those things on October 17th, making the rounds, seeing what's new, seeing what's cool, saying hi to new friends, old friends, people I wish were friends, stuff like that. Guests that have been on the show that I never get to meet in person. I actually finally get to meet them at something like this. So AES, hit me up if you're going. Let's say hello to each other. Let's hug it out. And also, LagondMusic.org. Head over to Lagond Music School. All right? Don't forget, they just had Rich Neeson put this amazing run of events together. And George Porter was just there last weekend. George Porter Jr. and the Running Partners, legendary bases of the Meters. They had a great show, great turnout, super psyched. Friday, November 2nd is the next one with Marshall Crenshaw. He's going to do a special concert featuring elements of his documentary film about record producer Tom Wilson. If you don't know who producer Tom Wilson was, okay, do yourself a favor. Go pick up any Allman Brothers record, have a listen, and educate yourself. Tom Wilson. All right? Oh, no, that was Tom Dowd. Oh, my goodness. Look at that. I just went right off the rails. Okay. Check me there, people. All right? Check me. I want to hear from you. But listen, most importantly, Saturday, December 8th, Rich Neeson, myself, and Night Bob are going to be at Lagond's. We're going to be talking about rock and roll life on the road. I'm going to moderate a discussion between those two guys. Get ready. It's going to be fun. It's going to be an epic evening. Saturday, December 12th. That would be 8 p.m. Doors open at 6:30. Get there early. Get yourself a ticket. Get yourself a brewski. All right, and a slice of pizza, a beer and a pizza. That sounds like road food to me. And we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about all sorts of cool stuff. Night Bob's career, that itself will take most of December easily to dissect. And Rich, he'll probably take about 3 weeks worth of January to work out. Now, these guys are awesome. If you don't know who they are, head back several episodes here. You can find Rich on my show. You can find Night Bob on the show. And we are super psyched to be able to do this for you. What else I got for you? All right. So I did that one. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. I'm ready. Actually, up. Hold on now. Tom Petty, American Treasure. Oh, it's out. Tom Petty's American Treasure. The box set, 60 tracks. Over 4 CDs, man. Unreleased recordings, alternate versions of classic songs, rarities, historic live performances, and deep tracks will make this an amazing box set to grab. You can find that in the show notes as well. Check it out. I can't wait to listen to it. Father-in-law, if you're listening to the show, I know you got one coming. I'm going to bootleg yours. All right, here we go. Here's my deep dive I want to tell you about, okay? Couple things. I also saw that the Beatles' White Album, we're going to get to Bruce Danz in just a second for those of you that are like, what's this guy talking about? Listen, I wanted to tell you about this. The Beatles' White Album is also going to be expecting a re-release November 9th. If you've been paying attention, November 9th, Giles Martin has gone back, George's son. He's gone back with a little help from his friends and remastered the White Album. And it includes a bunch of unreleased stuff, a bunch of rarities, a bunch of really cool recordings and versions of songs off the White Album. So I saw the video about it. I went back, listened to the White Album about 5 times this weekend. And God, what a record. What a band. What output, man. Just incredible. So there is also a link for that. That is leading me to this deep dive I'm going to take. I haven't read any music books in a few months now. It's been a while. I got the kid, 3 years old. I'm exhausted by the time the end of the night comes, and so I just pass out when I read a chapter. But I'm going to attack the Philip Norman book, Paul McCartney, The Life. I'm going to read that. And so I'm inviting you to read along or listen along with me if you'd like. And I'm going to offer you an Audible code in just a second. So the Paul McCartney book is called The Life. It's by Philip Norman. The other book that I'm inviting you to read along with me or listen along, a couple weeks ago I had Nathan Lively from Sound Design Live on the show. He mentioned a gentleman, George Kao, K-A-O, who is his mentor, has helped him craft and design and figure out his sort of marketing strategy and how to approach his online presence and his brand and all that kind of stuff. He mentioned a book called Authentic Content Marketing. Build an engaged audience for your personal brand through integrity and generosity. So I picked up a copy of this book. It arrived over the weekend, and I am super psyched to dive into this as well. So both of those books have links on the show notes section of this episode, all right? But I'm going to offer you the Audible code right now. Here we go. If you head over to audible.com and you want to listen to an audiobook, they have several thousands, over 100,000 offers to choose from here, okay? You use the code ROADIE, you get yourself 1 free month. You get yourself a free trial. You get yourself 1 free download. That means you could download the Paul McCartney book, cancel your trial. You'll still get to keep the Paul McCartney book if you do so. That's Roadie Free Radio. All right, after that first 30 days, it's $14.95 a month. That's still not that bad. Still not that bad, guys, to get yourself an audiobook. So head over to audible.com. Check out the George Kao book, Authentic Content Marketing. That's K-A-O, or Paul McCartney's book by Philip Norman called The Life. Use your Audible code, Roadie Free Radio. Get yourself a free 30-day trial. Okay? Finally, we're going to end with this one. I'm growing out the beard. I'm kind of testing the waters to see just how long I can let my beard go. I think I'm going to do it until my debt's paid off. I've mentioned a couple episodes back, I'm trying to tackle the debt. That's why you see some Dave Ramsey stuff in some of my posts these days, trying to get that total money makeover going and get my debts paid off by my 50th birthday. That's 3 years from now. Can I go 3 years without shaving? Can I go 3 years without trimming it? What's it going to look like? How frightening will I look? But in the meantime, what I need to do is keep it moisturized, keep it smooth, and keep my appearance somewhat professional. That is why I have chosen to use products by ShowPro Beard Co. You know it. You know it. It is a plug, my friends, for our good buddy Chris Wilson, traveling audio professional who started this company, ShowPro Beard Co., for the connoisseur of beard-wearing professionals. I'm all over the place today. But listen, head over to ShowPro Beard Co., use the code ROADIE. You get 20% off your order, your entire order. ShowPro Beard Co., 20% off your entire order when you use the code ROADIE. This stuff is great. I use it every day. Moisturize up my fingers, run it through my beautiful beard. Everything looks good. I look pro. I don't look like a disheveled dad who's been up all night with his sick son. I don't look like a guy who's doing podcasts at 2 o'clock in the morning. I look like a man should, with a good-looking beard, all right? So, Bruce Danz. Get rid of these show notes. Bruce Danz, my man, I got to tell you, this was one of my favorite interviews. Why? Because Bruce, unassuming, chill, hardworking. He's lived an incredible life. He's been around the world umpteen million times. He survived Marilyn Manson. That's a feat right there. The guy, he had a record deal when he was about 19, 20, 21, somewhere in there, as a bass player in a touring band. He's seen a lot of different sides of this industry. He's kept his head down. He's put in the time, and he's still got a lot of time left, man. So this was a good one. This one came to me by way of Mr. Night Bob. Thank you, Bob, once again for just funneling the good peeps to me. This was a great one. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you're enjoying the new fall weather that has befallen us. Thank you again for listening to the show. I appreciate it. All right, get out your flannel shirts. Get out your boots. It's going to get wet over the next few weeks if you're on the East Coast. And let's get ready for Halloween. All right, here we go. Mr. Bruce Danz.
Hit it. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie.
Are you hanging out in Michigan right now?
I am. I'm at home. I've been home for a couple of months. The Avenge Sevenfold tour I was on, the singer blew out his voice and was ordered on vocal rest, so the tour canceled. So I got some extra time at home.
How are you spending that time? Are you playing bass?
I am. I've been doing some shows with my Judas Priest tribute band, Vengeance Rising.
Nice. How's that going?
It's going good. We're just having fun with it, We're a bunch of old guys beating around some old music that we grew up with, so it's fun,
Yeah. You've had that band a while?
It's about 4 years now. We actually started it, kind of started out of a friend of mine that I started playing music with when we were 15 that played drums. He was going through cancer.
Okay.
And he was going downhill. And he wanted to get together with as many musician friends as he could. And he called it his musical therapy. So we just started putting together these jam sessions for him after he'd come over after his chemo treatments and stuff. And one day, this group of guys that we had over, we started playing a Judas Priest song. It's like, wow, we sound pretty good at that. What other one do you know? And it kind of spiraled out of that. And so we started this Priest tribute band with him as the original drummer. And then he got too sick where he couldn't carry on with it. We eventually lost him, but
oh man,
when he got so sick, he come up to me. He's like, "You got to keep this going. I can't play no more, but you got to keep this going for me as long as you can." So I've been trying to keep it going over the last 4 years. We've been through a few different drummers, and we've got a new rhythm KK guitarist recently, but everything's going really good lately. We're sounding better than ever, and we're having a whole lot of fun with it. So that's the most important thing.
That's awesome. Mostly local gigs in Michigan?
Yeah. With our schedules and stuff, we don't have a lot of time to commit to it and to try and do a whole lot much more than that. So we just do some shows here and there, mostly benefit shows. And
cool.
We just played last weekend at a wedding reception for some friends of ours, big outdoor thing. We set up a whole roof and
nice.
It was one of the best backyard parties around Michigan in this area ever, I believe.
Nice, man. Nice. How else have you been keeping yourself busy with the Avenge Sevenfold hiatus?
Just spending some time with my family and catching up and enjoying time with my wife and going out to dinner and movies and enjoying time with friends, stuff that I don't normally get to do. So.
I was going to say a rare treat anyway, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you guys have kids?
Yeah, they're grown now. Our youngest is 25.
Wow.
He's still at home here, but with his job and his friends and stuff, we don't see him a whole heck of a lot. He's in and out, but
yeah.
And then I've got 2 stepchildren from my wife's first marriage, but I've raised them since they were 12 and 14, so they're basically my kids as well. So,
wow.
But they're out of the house and gone. We still see them regularly and everything. They're not out of state or anything. But,
right. So you guys been married a long time.
22 years married.
22 years married, man. So what's the secret to surviving marriage with life on the road?
Geez, I don't know if there's just one secret. I guess finding the right woman for one. Sometimes we think that with me traveling all the time, when I do come home, we just enjoy the time we get together and make it a little more special. So I don't know if that's really the answer, because I know a lot of people that it hasn't worked for. So I'm going to say it's finding the right woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Does she come out to visit you on the road at all?
She does.
If something's close enough.
When we're in the area, and if we've got a day off, she might travel on the bus for a night or something to a day off and spend a day off with me and this and that. But everybody always asks, do you, when you're going to Europe or something like that, do you bring your wife over there? It's like, well, no, it doesn't really work out that way. I'm out here to make money, and if I got to buy her plane tickets around the world and stuff, I'm defeating the purpose of making money. So,
Right, exactly.
but when we're local and stuff, or in the area, or I flew her out to Vegas. Our daughter was living out in Vegas for a while, so last year or 2 years ago now that the Avenge tour played in Vegas, so I flew my wife out there. We had a couple days off there, so we got to spend a couple days with our daughter and things like that. So
Nice,
when it
man.
works out, I'll bring her out. But we're out there to make money and stuff, so flying the family around doesn't really
Yeah.
work in that scenario.
Right, exactly. And tell me about the kids. Like, first of all, do any of them have any musical aspirations?
My stepson does. I mean, my own blood son, he dabbles a little bit. He played guitar a little bit when he was young, and he dabbles with the neighbor guy playing drums, but nothing real serious or anything. But my stepson, Patrick, he has been into music since I've met him when he was 12 years old. He played guitar and drums as well, and he's got his own little studio, and he writes his own music and does it with the Pro Tools thing and stuff like that. So
That's awesome.
none of them have really taken it professionally or anything like that, but Patrick is probably the most serious about it and the most dedicated at learning and taking it to another level, I guess I'd say.
Yeah. You've been at this since basically the mid 80s, yeah? High school?
Yeah, I started playing
Early
myself
80s.
then. I took it to the sound thing in the mid 90s. Once I had my son and I needed to be a little more responsible and paying bills and stuff, the music scene around here and playing original bands and stuff like that wasn't paying the bills for me, so I had to rethink my position with wanting to take care of my family, so
Right.
I kind of stumbled into the sound thing. But yeah, I started in probably 1980 playing music. so-
Right, in high school. So that's like almost 40 years, if my math is
Yeah.
correct, right?
Showing,
Do you,
showing my age there.
Right, sorry. It's all right, man. I wonder, as you watch your stepson, Patrick, I think he said,
Yes.
as he starts dabbling in music and gets a little more into it, is there a part of you that's like, you don't want to go down this road? Yeah, I remember when I was younger, when I was in high school and playing music and getting into film and whatnot, we had some friends. We had a family friend that had an Oscar from writing a screenplay and, some pretty cool stuff. And I was like, I want to get into this. And their thing was, they'd always look at you like, nah, you don't really want to do this,
Yeah.
But as a young person, you can't help yourself, right? You got to go and try. So I'm wondering,
Right.
with that many years under your belt and, having a stepson and family who's dabbling, are you, do you tell them the cautionary tales?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you always tell them to stay in school and have a backup plan.
Yeah.
With me, I dropped out of high school. I signed my record deal when I was in my band Drop Hammer. We signed a record deal with an indie label, and Warner Brothers picked us up. The indie label we were on was kind of a farm label for the label I was on. They were a farm label for Warner Brothers, and they'd weed through some of the West Michigan or the Western United States bands for Warner Brothers, and we were the first band on the label that Warner picked up to fund, so they paid for our album and our video and things like that.
Wow.
So, but I dropped out of school thinking, I'm the rock star. I'm going to be the rock star. I didn't think of anything else but wanting to be in music and stuff. So,
Right.
but that didn't pan out. Luckily, I got lucky enough to stumble into the sound aspect of it. I mean, I worked my tail off to get to the levels I have, but
Sure.
I got some pretty lucky breaks in the beginning as well. So I always tell the kids, you want to have a backup plan. It's like you can't just totally count on this. Stick in school, have another plan.
Yep.
That type of thing. So
Sure.
there's definitely, I mean, the music is great and everything, but there's a lot of pitfalls to the industry. I guess it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not just about the music, unfortunately. So you got to think of that. And if you want to support yourself and take care of things properly, you got to have solid plans in place.
Yeah, for sure. And you definitely came along at sort of the last height, I guess, of the old system, right? And then we all watched that crumble. And now this new thing is around. So whatever this new thing is, whatever this new thing of not making money is, streaming and whatnot.
It's definitely changed the recording industry a whole heck of a lot. That's for sure.
But I guess on the flip side, the bonus is more bands. You have to tour more to make money. So,
yeah,
right? At least there's work.
That gets work for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of exposure for bands too. I mean, there's a lot of tools nowadays that we didn't have growing up with the internet, and
Yeah.
you know, you can upload some stuff to YouTube, and a lot of people can see in a short amount of time where we didn't have them types of tools available to us. Or same with learning. If you want to perfect your craft or learn something that somebody's doing, you can find a YouTube video for everything these days.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. I do indeed, man. So let's go back. Let's go back to Michigan, young man, growing up. What kind of family did you come from?
My family was pretty broken up growing up. Stepfathers and moving around a lot. So that's probably why I fell into music so deeply.
Sure. Brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I've got one brother and 3 sisters.
Yep.
I'm the oldest.
Uh-huh. So you're looking out for them.
Yeah, we did a lot of that growing up. Me and my one sister, the next in age, closest to my age, we took care of the younger ones quite a bit and stuff growing up. So, but moved around a lot. So I guess that's why I fell into music. It was kind of my escape.
Sure.
So.
And where'd you start picking up the bass?
I actually started on guitar, 6-string.
Okay.
I was probably about 13 years old. Had a junky yard sale $25 guitar that I used to beat around and had Kiss posters all over my wall, and wanted to be the star child. So, but I switched to bass in the mid '80s. There was a guitarist around here that I played in a band with for a time. We switched rhythm lead, but he was mostly the lead player.
Uh-huh.
But we kind of parted ways. 2 guitar players just got in this guy's way. His style, we were doing original music writing, but the way he played and his style was so fluid. Somebody just holding down rhythm just kind of got in his way and limited his creativity. So we kind of parted ways for a little bit, and I was doing another band of my own thing. And he had this other project going, and they were looking for a bass player. It's like, you know what? I'd really like to play music with you again.
Yeah.
I'll pick up the bass. I know another guitar player doesn't work with you, so I'll pick up the bass. And so I switched to bass there, and it's kind of never looked back from there. And a lot of times the guitar players get all the glory, but without the bass holding things down, that's the music just don't feel the same. So.
Exactly. That's awesome, man. That's cool that you guys found a way to, and that was the band that got signed?
It turned into that, yeah.
Yeah. That's
some years
awesome.
later.
That's
and
cool.
We kind of weaved in and out of, we did that band for a while. When I switched to bass, I played with them for a while, and I got an offer. We opened up for a local bar band around here. I was just about to turn 18 at the time, so I was 17 going on 18.
Uh-huh.
And a local bar band asked us to come in. They had another show that day, and we were going to show up late for their first set. So they knew our singer and asked us if we'd come in and start the night while they came in from their other gig to get ready.
Uh-huh.
And when they came in, they seen me playing. And after we got done playing, they come up and asked me if I wanted to join their band, which they were the heroes around here they weren't an original band, but they were the band that everybody looked up to. They were some of the most talented people around here. So when they approached me and asked me if I'd like to join their band, it's like I was in shock. It's like, well, that was the name of the band too. So coincidentally, I became in shock. But I was just, I was a 17-year-old kid going on 18, and that was my first professional leap into it, from going from originals and playing at basement parties and whatnot to, wow, these guys want me to be in a bar band. And they played the West Michigan, or not West Michigan, but the tri-state area around here, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio.
Wow.
And back then the bar scene was way different than nowadays. You're lucky to find a bar that has 2 nights in a row on the weekend playing. Back then you were playing 5-6 nights a week in a bar.
Yeah. Well, that was like Connecticut back then. There was tons of venues out here to play, and now there's, few and far between.
Yeah, exactly.
For that kind of thing.
So.
Wow, that's awesome, man. So you dove right into the music thing, and tell me about getting signed and the deal and all that kind of stuff, and how that felt, and what you thought compared to what happened.
Well, what I thought it was going to be ain't quite what it ended up being, but
was it sort of the classic story of you get signed, you get the deal, you make the record, and inner band shit gets in the way?
Pretty much. We're, like I say, we were young kids at the time, and by the time we got our record deal, I was 22 or 23, I guess I would have been.
Uh-huh.
It was an indie label, but we were getting support from a major, which had us feeling pretty proud of ourselves. We were the band off the indie label that Warner's picked to fund and stuff. So,
Sure. Wow.
it kind of went to our heads. We had a lot of the trappings of, of the stuff that you just said, the internal turmoils, and this guy thinking it's because of him, and this guy because of him, and drugs involved, and all that type of stuff. And the biggest problem, I guess, we got signed and we quit working for ourselves. We took ourselves to a level to get signed by working really hard.
Right.
And once we got signed, we kind of thought that they were just the machine was going to take over, and we could just sit around and play rock stars or whatever.
Yeah.
Which isn't really the case. We kind of sat back and watched it piddle away, and we internally quarreled with each other over it, and this guy's fault, and you need to be doing this, and a lot of that stuff happened, and unfortunately it fell apart.
Oh, man.
There's been recently a guy down in North Carolina that has a record label that does a lot of reissues of stuff, and he's reached out to us about reissuing the stuff. Unfortunately, the guy that owned the record label back then has all the master tapes, and he is MIA. So if we did this, it would have to be from crappy old cassette tapes that we have around and stuff, and it's kind of hard to do a proper reissue of something from an old cassette tape that's been in a box for 30 years and stuff. So unless we can do it right, we probably won't do it. So
how's the friendship with these guys? You still talk? It sounds like he may talk to some of these guys.
Yeah, we're still friends. The one guitar player was in this Judas Priest tribute band I was doing for a while.
Yeah.
But he moved out to California. He got a new girlfriend and moved out there. But I still talk with all the guys and see them, and we're still all good friends and everything. So we've been friends forever. So I guess if anything, we formed lifelong bonds out of what didn't become rock stardom for us, I guess.
Yeah, right, exactly. So tell me, at the demise of the band, what did you think was going to happen at that point? What was the plan? Was there a plan?
Well, at the demise of that band, I was still fairly young there.
Yeah.
There was, when the band fell apart, it was just when my soon-to-be wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, had just gotten pregnant for my son. So I was still in the mode of becoming a rock star.
Right.
Be damned with everybody else. I'm going to figure this out. And there was another local band at the time that was making some waves around the area. And that's when I was just starting to dabble with sound. A friend of mine, Mark Vanderwall, who is mixes monitors for the Chili Peppers these days. He's worked with John Mellencamp. He kind of gave me my start into the sound aspect of this, because I used to rent his little local. He had a little local company here called West Michigan Sound, and I used to rent his sound company on the weekends for my gigs. And I took it back to him one day, and he's like, "You know what? You're the only person that rents my rig and brings it back looking better. Nothing's blown up. It's like, would you like to do some gigs for me?" So I kind of started doing gigs for him. So I was mixing, and then they were doing a local club here had a Sunday jam session with quarter drafts. This is, back in the early 90s.
Yep.
And they had quarter draft Sundays, and the place would get packed. You couldn't move through the place at
of course
2 in the afternoon, and all these different bands. So this one band that was playing there, they were called INRI, like on top of the cross. They were all original band, and they were very powerful, almost Slayer-ish kind of. Amazing frontman singer who played bass at the time, and but they were a very good band. And I was mixing for them one of these Sunday jam sessions, and me being my cocky self, I guess, and still kind of full of myself because I had a record deal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
After these guys finished their set, I walked up to them, and I'm like, "Man, you guys are really good. It's only one thing that would make you better." And they look at me, they're like, "Oh yeah, what could make us better?" And I'm like, "Me playing bass in your band." And they just kind of, all their jaws hit the floor, and they're like, who's this idiot that thinks, and I mean, they kind of knew of who I was and stuff like that, but,
Yeah.
And it just kind of took them back, and they were just kind of chuckled it off. Then a little bit later, they approached me. They're like, "You couldn't play our songs." And at that time, I had heard them a couple times at a few of these other jam sessions and had their demo tape and
So
learned a
you
few
knew
of their
it.
songs.
Uh-huh.
So they're like, "You couldn't even play one of our songs." I'm like, "Let's go, jam session. Let's get up there and do it." They're like, "Well, what song?" So they pull out of their hat what at the time was their toughest song that they thought to play and stuff like that. Can you play this song, which was called Labyrinth?
Uh-huh.
I'm like, let's do it. And they looked at me like, he's never gonna do it. He doesn't know it. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I get up there and killed it. They're kind of like floored and taken back. So,
Yeah.
it kind of ends. We go through the day. Everybody's partying and watching bands and whatnot. The next day, I get a phone call from them. They're like, "Are you serious about wanting to join our band?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm in." So they're like, "How long would it take you to learn all our material?" I'm like, "I got it." And they're like, so we arranged a practice and I joined that band. So I was still, trying to become a rock star at that point. I hadn't given up on that.
Sure.
Like I said, my son I don't think he was quite born yet.
Okay.
I think my wife was still pregnant for him at the time. But he might have been born, but I was still hanging on to the ideas of rock stardom and still trying to fight off the responsibility of adult, and I got to provide and this type of stuff. And
Yep.
so I joined that band, and we did that for about 5 years, but it just wasn't paying the bills. And then the same trappings, internal dramas which is the biggest thing with bands. Most bands, they think they can't make it or it's hard to make it, but most of them can't get along with themselves long enough
Right.
to break that part where, it takes you at least 5 years to get out there and make a name and build to get tight and to build a show and to be seen and all these different things. And,
Yeah.
I had never been able to get past that. I call it the 5-year hump. And with almost every band I've been in, we get to that 5-year point and things just start falling apart. It's like being married to 4 or 5 different people. So,
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Wow, man. So as that started to come apart, is that when you made the transition sort of deeper into the audio side?
that is.
Yeah.
Like I said a little bit ago, I started doing work with West Michigan Sound here for my buddy Mark Vanderwall.
Mm-hmm.
And I was running his company. He was at the time he was drum teching. That was before he had totally moved from drum teching, because he was a drummer, into the sound thing.
Okay.
And he was the drum tech for Ted Nugent and John Mellencamp at the time.
Wow.
And he was starting to do audio with a company in Grand Rapids, which is about 35, 40 minutes away from us here in Muskegon. And he was working for a company called Sound Structures. And they were needing more guys up there. I was running his company here, which he was getting tired of dealing with and maintaining the equipment and just the small amount of money he was making doing these little bar gigs or beer tents and things like that.
Yeah. Did he have a big shop or no? A lot of gear?
Not a whole lot. I mean, we had just one PA system. It was an old JBL, old JBL 4025 bins and Clark mid tops, single 12 mid tops, and some old horns and stuff. But it was just run out of his garage. It was nothing huge or major. We had a small 20-foot truck, box truck, that we toted all the gear around in and stuff.
Yeah.
But he was doing a lot of shows in Grand Rapids when he wasn't on tour doing his drum tech thing for this company, Sound Structures. And they were needing more audio people and help. He's like, "You think you might want to come up there and do some shows in Grand Rapids with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in. I'm game." So,
Yeah.
which Grand Rapids is a much bigger town than Muskegon. Muskegon's a pretty small community here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more going on in Grand Rapids. I've seen that as a pretty big step up and a good move for me. So
Sure.
I started working for Sound Structures and doing those types of shows up there and places in the Orbit Room. And a lot of old sound guys might know the Orbit Room when they were doing the 2,000 seat cap room type venues. The Orbit Room was a big stop in West Michigan. We do a lot of shows there, and we did a lot of the corporate work around Grand Rapids and stuff like that. So I worked for them for a couple, 2-3 years, and they got bought up by Thunder Audio out of Detroit. We used to work kind of, because we both had, it was the old EAW systems back then, the 850 rigs, and Thunder Audio was an 850 house, and so was Sound Structure. If we had big gigs that we didn't have enough boxes for, we'd work with Thunder and get boxes from them or rent racks and stacks from them to cover our bigger gigs and stuff like that. So they kind of had a working relationship, and the owner from Sound Structures was getting ready to sell out, and Tony and Paul Owen over at Thunder Audio bought up the shop, the equipment, and the crew. And for a short time, Thunder had the West Michigan shop there, which was the old Sound Structure shop. Mm-hmm. And after about a year or so, they closed up the West Michigan shop and moved all the operations back over to Detroit, where Tony could monitor it closer, I guess. And so a lot of us filtered over to the Detroit area and started working with Thunder over there and doing the shows over there. And that's when I started moving into the touring aspect, as opposed to just doing the locals and the one-offs and type of things like that.
And at this point, you're doing front of house?
I was doing whatever. I was mostly
whatever.
teching, mostly system teching.
Yeah.
But I started out more or less front of house in my earlier days of doing it.
Yep.
And then moved over to monitors.
And just picked up stuff from being around it and watching other people doing it, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you have a sense of like, that's going to be the path? I'm going to learn more about that, or I know you then switched over to monitors. What was that? Yeah. Was that more of a conscious decision?
Yeah, kind of. I've coming from being a musician. Yeah. I liked getting in a groove with the musicians and knowing what they needed to perform, and I guess it kind of made me feel a little bit more. I don't know, being closer to the stage made me feel a little bit more like I was living through my rock star dreams and stuff, I guess, as opposed to being out in the middle of the room and just mixing for myself or the room of people, but pleasing them musicians and making so they could perform and do their show. So but when I started working for Thunder, Paul Owen, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was Metallica's monitor engineer for 25 some years. He did AC/DC prior to that. He was a big name as far as monitor engineers go. Mm-hmm. And I kind of started really looking up to him and taking tutelage from him and thinking, hey, I want to be like him, So I kind of veered towards the monitor world. And being a monitor guy, I guess everybody wants to be the front of house guy. They think it's more glamorous or something. So it was always easier to get the monitor spot. It's like, well, these guys need a monitor guy. They've got a front of house guy, but nobody wants to do the monitors, and so it's like, I can do that. Uh-huh. I'm not afraid. I'll kick it in the ass. Let's do this. So.
Nice, man. So when did the touring really start to kick in, and I guess that next level of work?
Yeah, I guess it was around 97 that I started doing my first tours on buses with Thunder. At that time, I still wasn't the engineer. I was still system techs and stuff like that, and the assistant. So I did, I guess it was 97, I did my first tour with the band Days of the New. And I was just the front of house systems tech. So I set up the PA and took care of the front of house guy, Jack Nepley. Mm-hmm. And my other buddy, Scotty, who worked with Thunder as well, was the monitor engineer for him at the time. So I did that tour in 97, and I did a handful of shows with Robert Palmer, his last tour of the U.S. and Canada before he passed away.
Wow.
I went in and took over for a gentleman who couldn't do the Canada show, so I went in and did the Canada run with him in a handful of shows, and I was actually got to mix him, so that was my first venture into actually being the band's engineer as opposed to just the system tech guy. So kind of started spiraling from there. So
to go back just a little bit, so you spent about 4 years, is that right, being a systems tech and setting stuff up, and this run between Detroit and just kind of cutting your teeth learning all this stuff?
Yeah, it'd be about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Wow, man. Working, baby comes along, and now at least you got somewhat of a steady job, right?
Yep. Thunder was pretty good to me, It was, coming from being a bar musician and stuff like that, it was a big leap up in pay scale, So
of course.
I still wasn't making money like I do nowadays back then, but
Yeah.
from what I was making playing in bars and just doing my local sound company things, it was a big step up, and
Yeah.
I was learning a lot. That was the important thing.
Sure.
I was seeing it on a bigger scale, on a more professional level, and learning the ins and outs and working around a lot of really good people to learn from, so
Yeah. And aside, I'm going to jump around a little bit, but aside from Robert Palmer and of course you did a theater gig there for a little bit.
yeah, I did some Tyler Perry stuff for a while.
Aside from that, it seems like you've kind of stayed in that hard rock / metal world.
Yeah, that's
Right?
been my forte, I guess. That's what I come from, is my background.
Yeah.
So that's been the stuff that I really enjoyed.
Okay.
So I don't know if I took to that more and it applied myself more in that area. I don't know. But that's the genre that I grew up from, and
Sure.
that was what I loved doing. But
the
but all
crossover.
of these different things were good for me. I mean, doing
Right.
the theater stuff with Tyler Perry, I did not want to go do a gospel theater play after coming off a Slipknot tour,
Yeah, I
But
bet,
once I
man.
got out there and did it, it was a really great learning experience. Not just audio-wise, but just human-wise, just the
Yeah.
people around there. Tyler Perry's a great man. He has a lot of great life lessons, a lot of great insight. So
Uh-huh.
when I got out there, it was actually a really good thing for me. So I kind of kicked it and didn't want to do it at first, but once I got out there and in it, it was like, wow, this is really good for me. I was mixing front of house on that.
Right.
And it really grew me as an engineer, trying to make those little wig lavalier mics and stuff heard in the third
Sure.
balcony of the Beacon Theater in New York over a loud crowd. I mean, it's not a reserved crowd in them shows, everybody's and hollering and making noise. So,
Yeah.
you really got to hone my chops as far as EQing and making things heard.
Right. And now is that so that was a touring show?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so that must have been a real learning experience to pop into those houses.
It was. It was
Like
a great
that.
learning experience for me. It was a and it was a totally different element from what I was. So it was teaching me new things. It
Sure.
wasn't just the guitar, bass, drums, rock bands with one or two vocals. It was 20 lavalier mics going out on stage at a time with a gospel band
Wow.
over the top of them, and getting a lavalier mic with somebody singing in it. So it was a
Wow.
really good learning experience from an audio standpoint for me.
I bet, man. That's awesome. And did you have a knack growing up for, electronics and gear and stuff? I mean, I know I'm a fellow guitar player, bass player, so I get it. We're always fiddling with something, but to take it, a step further into sort of the audio side and sonically, did you have a knack for that? Was that a big learning curve for you?
It was a learning curve. I like to tinker with things and stuff, but I was never a huge repair type guy. Like the repairman at Thunder Audio, the guy that works in the repair shop there. He could take apart an amp and look at a schematic and trace the circuits, and I understand some of it, but I didn't grasp it like some of them guys did, and
Yeah.
so there was a learning curve there for me, definitely.
And what about, if you can just kind of recall some of the bigger lessons you might have learned starting out as you made that shift, because, there's probably a bit of familiarity that you might feel because you are a bass player, you were in a lot of bands, you were in a sign band, but now you're humping gear,
Right.
and you're doing it a lot. It's late nights and you're the guy, but you're not that guy. Right?
Yeah, it was definitely different than what I had originally envisioned of myself, but I don't know. I guess it gave me a much better work ethic and stuff, getting out there and actually, working them long days. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people think that roadies got a glamorous life. Oh, you're partying with rock stars, you go
Right.
city to city, and it's a lot of work.
It's a
People
lot of
don't
work.
understand. You're in there at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. You're not out till 2, 3, depending on the show and how many trucks.
Yep.
They're really long days, and
Sure.
so I guess that was the biggest surprise and learning thing for me, but it helped me grow as a person as well, and it
Yeah.
built my work ethic, which I've tried to pass down to my kids and things like that. It's like, because I didn't have that when I was a musician. I thought I was going to be this rock star, and
Yeah.
it was a whole different mentality, I guess. So.
Right. What was the sort of turning point for you in terms of, careers and bands you were working with? You're like, okay, I got a good foothold now, and I'm on the track.
I guess that would have been when I got the engineer position for Slipknot.
Yeah.
I started out with them teching in January of 2000. I was actually teching the PA and the monitor engineer, so I was toting around a 24 stack Nexo Alpha PA system. This was before the line arrays and stuff, obviously. And I was teching that all by myself. I was the only person out there from Thunder Audio. I set up all the PA and the monitor system every day, and then tech the desk and the actual monitor engineer at the time. They had a monitor engineer from England, and they got tired of paying for his visas and his flights from overseas, and they were seeing all the work I was doing. Basically, I would do all the line checks and get the desk ready, and the engineer would walk up and just do sound check with the band. Well, the band guys seen all this stuff kind of behind the scenes, and at a certain point, they come up to me and they were like, "It looks like you do a lot of the work all day. I mean, do you think you could mix the show? And we don't have to pay for his flights?" I'm like, I absolutely could. So that was kind of the step and the turning point for me to really be an engineer as opposed to just a audio person from the audio company and the tech, who could step in and mix if he had to and stuff. But I was actually became the band's engineer, and that's kind of when it took off for me.
It never ceases to come up in these interviews. A couple things. One, being ready when you get asked, and having the confidence, when you get that nod from somebody who's been watching. But also that if you put in the work, and you just keep your head down and you keep going, people are noticing, right? Like people are watching.
Absolutely.
Whether you think they are or not, they are watching. And inevitably, if you suck or you stink or whatever, you've got a bad attitude, like that's going to come out. You're going to get that meeting. Or if you keep your head down and you keep doing your thing, you're going to get the other meeting or question, which is,
are you up for the job?
Can you mix the show?
Both of those are very true. Confidence is one of them,
Yeah.
You don't always have to be the greatest person, but you got to instill confidence in your artist when they hit the stage.
Right.
That you're there. And even, live, things happen live.
Yeah.
Things always go wrong. That's why we have jobs. If things were perfect every day, they wouldn't need so many crew out there,
Sure.
One or two people would set it up and things would be on autopilot, but that's not the case.
Right.
Things always got to go wrong. So you got to instill confidence in the artists and the management teams out there that if something does go wrong, you're on top of it. And that's a lot. You don't have a lot of time. A show is an hour and a half or what, you don't have, this problem come up, let's spend an hour to find out what's going on. You don't have that kind of time frame.
Yeah.
So you got to have the confidence and the know-how to get in there and repair things like that. So,
Right.
It's got to happen right now.
Sure.
So confidence is definitely a big one that you gotta emulate confidence. And, you don't, in my younger years, I was a pretty cocky fella. So,
right.
You don't want to necessarily be cocky.
Right.
But you got to be confident, and there's a fine line between the two, which over the 25 years or so that I've been doing this, I've learned that fine line or tried to learn it. And I still have my moments as everybody does, but, so.
Yeah, sure. So take me through a little bit, some of those, like your initial meetings, let's say with a new artist, new band, let's say you got the gig and you're going to go out with them. What are some of the things you're looking for out of them before you start up? And let's start with that.
Well, I guess from after negotiations are done with management people and money, things of that nature are done. What I'm looking for out of the band is nothing. I'm there to help them do
Sure.
what they do. So I'm not looking for them. I'm trying to figure out what exactly they need from me to do what they do, and to because I mean they're all rock bands, but everybody's got their own ways of doing things or their
Yeah.
own little way they present themselves or this and that, you know.
Sure.
So
Well, I
I'm
guess
not out there.
that's what I mean. It's like, what do you know, take me through sort of the conversation of like what you're, how you approach a drummer, what they might want in their ears, or your singer or whatnot, or does some of that stuff get handed down to you by the previous person?
Both, yeah.
know,
Some of it'll
yeah.
get handed down, but I like to get in my own routine and just kind of figure out the person themselves. Everybody's got their own little quirks, and
Yep.
this guy will come out and he's a little nervous to start with, and he'll always want a little more of this or something. It's just, I mean, initially, if you don't, depending on if you got some proper rehearsal time or not, but
Yeah.
there'll be a few shows of just kind of feeling people out and their personalities and what they need. But yeah, you definitely go up and just introduce yourself, say, hey, I'm Bruce, I'm your new monitor guy. What can I do to make you happy and make your world beautiful up here? And, that kind of thing. And,
Yeah.
just start a rapport with them as people. First off is,
Sure.
I guess, where I start at. So
Yeah. Nice, man. And what about the Manson gig? That's been your longest, I take it, right?
yeah,
That one in Avenge Sevenfold?
I started Avenge probably a year after the Manson thing. So did a Manson about 11 years. I've just recently parted ways with him.
Yeah.
The end of last year, we just came to a mutual butting of heads where, I mean, Manson has always been a handful. I mean,
Yeah.
any person in the audio industry that's heard his name has heard the horror stories about him, and a
Yeah.
lot of them are true.
Yeah.
He is very, very demanding,
Yeah.
very, very unpredictable. So, I mean, I learned a lot working with him too. And once you do a Slipknot and a Manson tour for any amount of time, anything after that is pretty much a cakewalk, because them are pretty much the extremes of the world that you could get in.
Sure.
And Manson's almost like, so Slipknot's 9 guys, and
Wow.
Manson's almost like 9 of them all wrapped into one. He's just a ball of fire and energy and unpredictability,
Yeah.
which keeps you on your toes all the time.
Sure.
So,
I just caught him with Zombie
Yeah.
few weeks back or a couple months ago.
my buddy George Chapman still mixing front of house for him. He started out as my tech out there,
Wow.
and our good friend Dave Shirt Nichols, who passed away a little more than a year ago now, was out there doing the tour, and he couldn't put up with Manson and some of the stuff, and he was leaving, and we only had a short bit of the tour run left, and they didn't want to bring in another engineer. It's like, well, George has been here, he knows the show, and
Yeah.
let's give him a shot. And it worked out for him in that way, and that's sometimes, like you were saying, being confident and ready. That's a lot of times the way these gigs pop up for you. You're the tech out there, or and you get that call up, and if you're ready for it, it could be your gig, So,
Sure.
but George is still out there with Manson, and he's been there almost 10 years now. But I did Manson 11 years, and it just got to the point where, it's like, I don't want to badmouth him or nothing, but
Enough's
he's-
enough.
he had just gotten to the point where I can put up with that stuff and his antics and all the craziness around that. When at the end of the day, it was an amazing show, and you
Right.
walk out of that room going, "Man, them kids got something."
Yeah.
But when it becomes a parody of itself, and at the end of the night, you're almost hanging your head going, "I'm ashamed to be attached to this."
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and some nights he would come out and you would just never know. He's at that point where you just don't know which version you're going to get each night.
Yep.
Or some nights it was just like, oh, there's the old Manson, because in his day he was a poignant artist, and he didn't get to
Sure.
where he was by not being something
Right.
incredible.
Right. Of course.
But he's almost become a parody of himself. I hate to say that on an interview, and I
Yeah.
hope this don't catch me too much flack, but he's almost become a parody of himself, and it's almost sad to watch.
Right.
And it became to a point where me and him just had to part ways before it got ugly and became a whole bunch of stuff that it didn't need to be. I tried and remain professional and the show before we parted ways. He was giving me a bunch of grief, which he would always do. But I had just been so fed up with it on stage during a mic change. I just lit into him. It's like, wait a minute. I mean, this is not me. That's not professional.
Wow.
That's not what I want to do. You know, it's like, this is on stage in front of kids. This isn't something that happened back behind the scenes.
Sure.
You know, and at that point, it was like, yeah, we need to stop this. You know, I need to move on from this. You know, I'll gladly stay until you can get somebody in here, and I'll go over the show. I'll leave my show file on the account. I mean, because nowadays it's a digital show file. You know, somebody come in. I'll leave the work of the band as content. You know, no problems there. Let the guy come in. I'll go over with Manson. There's also a lot of things that aren't audio related as far as dealing with all this props. And you know, this mic has brass knuckles on it, and this one's got a knife on it. And,
he brought out the knife one at the end. He did a song with Rob, and he brought out the knife one.
Yeah.
For Helter Skelter, I think it was the remake of that thing. Yeah, but yeah, so, a lot of mic changes going on out there.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things un-audio related that you have to do. So I told the manager, I'm like, you know, I don't want to part on any bad ways. I don't want to leave any bad tastes or anything in anybody's mouth about this, but you know, so they brought in a new guy, and I went over the show, left my show file for him, and went through all the arts and crafts stuff to do, and the mic things, and because he's tough with mic, like you say, you know, there's mic changes every song.
Yep.
He's throwing the mics and beating them, you know, he'll sit and pound on the wedge with them, and with a wireless mic, batteries will pop out and the mic will turn on and off. So there's things, you know, taping the batteries in so they don't come out. There's just stupid little things that you got to do all day long that are time consuming just to get ready for the chaos that is Manson. So
right.
So I stuck around and went over that. I was stuck around a couple days after the parting of ways and went over the show with a guy and tried to make it as smooth a transition as possible. The Manson's manager, Tony, had always been good for me. If I had a problem, I could always approach him. You know, he was always there to work it out with me, you know. So I didn't want to leave him stuck.
Sure.
You know, and I didn't want to leave myself with a bad name around the industry.
Yep.
So I tried to make it as smooth as possible. I felt like just walking away, you know. I wanted to wipe out the console and step away.
Right.
But then I had a little bit more thought on it, and like, no, that's not the way I should handle it. So I made a better decision in the end, I think.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, probably in your early 20s, that's what you would have done, right?
I would have threw the mic back at him and walked away with zeroed the desk.
Exactly.
I would have probably done it during the show. I'd have just said, you can't hear nothing? Here, mute all. That's nothing.
Right.
Wipe the desk. So.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. I mean, you know, we were fortunate enough to be standing back in Monitor World during Marilyn's show and Rob's show. And so for the Marilyn portion, it was nuts, man. There's a lot of changes, like you said. There's a lot of squealing going on because he's right up in the wedge.
I tried to avoid all that.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure.
Some guys get more squealing than others, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it is the way he handles the mic and his performance. It is inevitable that you get some squeaks here and there at the volumes he's trying to produce. So.
Yeah, exactly, man. But you always also had Avenge Sevenfold going on at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So you were bouncing back and forth. So you were really busy for like 11 years?
Yeah. It had been
10 years?
I'd been pretty lucky to where when one was touring, the other was recording, and it had worked out pretty well. There might have been a gap where like Manson was winding down and only had a few weeks or something left, and Avenge was starting, where I had a couple fill-in guys that I would bring in. It's like, well, I got to be there to start this one. This one's ending and not going to go again for another year and a half.
Sure.
So I'd put somebody in there for the last 3 weeks or something to fill in for me but it worked out pretty well where I didn't have to miss many shows with either of them and bounce between the two. But yeah, it was 11 years of going pretty solid right from one to the other with, you know, I'd spend a good at least 10 months of the year on the road, and you know, not all at once, you know, but I'd see the family not much more than 2 months out of a year for them 11 years.
How'd you balance that with the kids?
Well, that's not easy. I got a great wife. She takes care of home very well and raised the kids very well. I mean, I was out there and making the money so we could have what we needed, but she was the one here dealing with it also.
Yeah.
I did what I could when I was home. My kid grew up playing hockey, and I always was unhappy that I had to miss as much of that as I did. But when I was home, I'd be involved as I could.
Yep.
When he was younger, I kind of helped coach a little bit, but then it got to where I couldn't commit enough to it. A tour would pop up out of nowhere. The way the music industry is, you
Sure.
might think you're not working and you got nothing, and then all of a sudden there it is. It's
Yep.
like you got to take it when it's there, otherwise somebody else is. So
Of course.
so I got to the point where I couldn't commit to like coaching with my kid or commit to this around here because the tour might come up tomorrow. So
Yep.
but I would do what I can when I could. I mean, I've got a very supportive family, and they all understand and know, that I love what I do, and it is how we pay our bills around here. So
Yeah.
I give it all to my wife.
That's awesome, man. That is very cool. Hey, do you get tired of it? I mean, it doesn't seem like you do, because it seems like you go out and you tour for however long you're out there and loud, crazy shows, and then you come back and you throw on the bass and go out and do your own loud, crazy shows.
Right. Yeah, I definitely get tired of the older I get, the harder touring is getting. Each year it gets a little tougher to drag the suitcase around. It just gets a little harder each year. I mean, I still love my work and everything involved with it, but each year it just gets a little tougher to leave and miss the weddings and the funerals and the this and the hockey games and it just gets a little tougher each year. So with this extended break I've got with the Avenge canceling, it's even showing me that more. I've been home the last couple months. I've turned down a few tours. I've saved up enough to where I could not have to really take them without digging myself in a hole. So I've been doing some local work with a couple small local companies and
Nice.
doing my own band thing and
Yeah.
keeping things afloat. We're not getting ahead much here at this point, but as people, I guess we are with life and stuff. So
Yeah.
sometimes that's pretty important too.
The balance, right? You got to find the balance in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, with 11 years straight of touring, 10 months out of the year, were you smart with the money? Did you figure out how to budget it, save it, put some away, and do all that for a rainy day like this?
To some extent, not as smart as I could have and should have been, I suppose, but
Yeah.
not terrible where I'm stuck here in a big hole at the moment. So
Yeah.
I mean, and Avenge has been great with us. Their camp, when they canceled, they paid us pretty well.
Nice.
For the cancellation time. We didn't get our entire full pay what we would have on tour, but
Yeah.
they took care of us pretty well where I didn't have to worry about jumping right back into work and stuff. So that was very cool, because that's a years ago. I mean, retainers and cancellation payouts and stuff like that were pretty much normal, and
Right.
it's getting harder and harder unless you're working for somebody like Metallica and that higher echelon of bands.
Yeah.
It's a pretty rare thing to get a retainer.
Sure.
It's pretty much unheard of these days anymore.
Yep.
Which is sad. But
Yeah.
I mean, and people wonder why they're sifting through crew people so much. It's like, well, these guys got they don't got royalties or this coming in or that coming in. If they're not working, they're not making money.
Right.
So.
Right. Of course. Of course. What do you think the future holds in terms of touring, and are you looking more to stay local, you think, and find what's there? I mean, Grand Rapids is what you said, 40 minutes away in Grand Rapids?
Yeah, Grand Rapids has got a pretty hot happening scene around there. They've got a new club there called 20 Monroe Live, which is right by the Van Andel Arena,
Uh-huh.
which is taking over what the Orbit Room used to do around that area, which is the 2,000 seat cap type stuff. And they were just recently had an ad out looking for a new audio person. And I was almost tempted to look into that, but it's like I think I've got a few more years of the road left in me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to wind it down. I'm not really looking to take on new clients at the moment, but I'm gonna wait for the next Avenge record. And I love working with them guys. They're great guys to work for. The management's good, so I definitely pretty sure I got another tour cycle in with them. I've got a few spot shows coming up next month. I'm gonna go out and do a couple shows with Anthrax for them.
Nice.
I've done some tours with them in the past.
Yep.
And really like working with them. They're good guys, and they like my work. Unfortunately, the level they're at, they don't really have the budget to meet my normal rate.
Yeah.
So, which Joey Belladonna, their singer, is always giving me grief about that. Oh, you high-end guy. And it's like, I got to pay my bills, But
Right.
So once in a while, I get to go out and do some shows with them, and it works out. And they were able to pay me not quite my rate, but something that was acceptable to me and them. So I'm gonna go do a couple fill-in fly dates with them next month, going to Mexico City for one and one in Phoenix.
Cool.
They tried getting me for their full tour, but I'm just one. And right after this cancellation for Avenge, I ended up pinching a nerve in my neck somehow.
Oh,
Not even sure how, but it had me laid down. I could hardly move for almost 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I couldn't have taken a tour if I wanted to. I couldn't physically. I could barely raise my head up, and I've been going to a chiropractor the last couple months, and they got me back in functioning order, and I'm ready to work again and stuff when the time comes. But
yeah,
there was a month there of this break that I've had that I couldn't go out and work if I wanted to. So
wow.
And I'm not sure what I did. It's just one of them things, the joys of getting old and the body starting, after
right.
20 years of being beat around in airplanes and buses and stuff, my neck and back finally went, hey, dude, take a rest.
Exactly. Chill out.
Yeah.
What do you do on your days off on the road, Bruce?
I don't do a whole lot. I'm one of them guys that likes to do my own laundry. I don't like sending my laundry out because they'll either bleach your black clothes or steal your best crew swag stuff. And so on a day off, I'm always into going and finding a nice meal.
Yep.
Doing my laundry. I've usually got a couple friends on tour that, you get in your cliques out there with the different groups of people. And I've usually got one or two close friends that will go out on a day off and just grab a decent meal that's not catering and buffet food and stuff that is cooked just for us. And we'll just relax and enjoy a day off. So
nice, man.
In the younger days, I would go and see some of the sights and stuff, but I've pretty much seen most of the stuff around the world, so it's not like when I get to Paris, I got to go see the Eiffel Tower, or I got to go do this.
Right.
I'm more into just kind of regrouping and getting ready for the next 2 or 3 days, or however many days you got a battle coming up.
A battle.
Yeah.
It is indeed that. Cool. And you're a Harley guy, huh?
I am, yes. I have a 2013 Electroglide, so we do a lot of riding when we can.
Nice. You ever get to bring the bike on the road?
I did once on a Stone Sour tour. We were doing our own run. We had a trailer with the gear in it, and then from that run, we joined up with the Family Values tour with Korn.
Oh, yeah.
And they had space on one of the trucks for all our gear, so we were toting around this empty trailer. And the bus driver was actually from Grand Rapids, and we were coming from Wisconsin and going to Detroit, and we had this empty trailer. He's like, we need to stop and get our bike, because he was a rider. He had a big dog. He wasn't a Harley guy, but I'm like, man, if we can pull that off, I'm in. So a couple of days prior to that, we got some big eye bolts and drilled some holes in the floor of the trailer and put some tie-down eye bolts in there and stuff. And about 4 a.m, we come through Muskegon and stopped, and I grabbed my bike and threw it in the trailer, and we drove through Grand Rapids, and he threw his in, and then we went on our way to Detroit. So we had him out for about a month.
Nice.
Which was cool. And all the Korn guys are, not all of them, but a few of them, Fieldy and his dad was out there, and they rode, and they had a trailer with bikes too. So we had a few days where we'd get together with them guys and all go for a ride and stuff.
Oh, that's
It's pretty
super
cool having a bike out there, because on your day off, that would give you something to do where you don't got to worry about taking a cab, or that was before Uber and stuff even, so
right.
The only way around was a cab. So
yeah. And if you just wanted to take off and be by yourself in the road,
yeah,
getting
on the bike was great for that. You could just get on, and you had a rough couple days or something, you get on a bike and just take off and forget about the world for a little bit.
Sure, man, sure.
Doesn't happen often, but I appreciate that time that I did get to do it.
Yeah, that's very cool, Bruce. Very cool, man. Well, listen, dude, I'm going to let you go and enjoy your break here. And I appreciate you giving me the time and sharing your tale with me.
My pleasure, Larry. I appreciate you having me on this roadie free radio.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad your neck thing worked itself out so you can get back out there and work. And if you ever roll through Connecticut, give me a shout, man.
We'll do that.
All right, Bruce. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right. Thank you, Larry. Have a great day.
You got it. Be well, man. Mr. Bruce Danz, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, my friend. I really appreciate it. All right, listen up, folks. Stay tuned next week. Episode number 106 is right around the corner with a mystery guest. In the meantime, you can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and Spotify, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the website, roadiefreeradio.com. Send me a note because you know I want to hear from you. That's info@roadiefreeradio.com. And in the meantime, y'all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.